Hey everyone. Welcome back to the Intelligent Founder AI. This is the sixth edition, and I was literally about to hit publish on this episode when the breaking news dropped. So let me tell you the full story first, and then explain why what happened yesterday changes everything. But before we dive in, quick announcement, we're now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're not subscribed to Intelligent Founder AI, hit that subscribe button now. Paid subscribers get early access to exclusive deep dives, frameworks, and founder playbooks, including the full research docs behind every story. Now let's get into it. If you've been anywhere near tech Twitter or LinkedIn in the last 3 weeks, you've probably seen hundreds of posts and articles with headlines about something called Moltbook or OpenClaw. What went viral was the NY Post headline saying, AI bots are plotting humanity's downfall. Then Elon Musk said we're witnessing the early stages of the singularity. Andrei Karpathy called it the most sci-fi thing he'd seen in years. I did my first deep dive on OpenClaw and Moltbook on February 1st. That same week, actually the very next day, security researchers found you could access Moltbook's entire database, including 1.5 million API keys and 35,000 email addresses, in under 3 minutes. No hacking required. So I held off on publishing, and then yesterday the guy who built all of this joined OpenAI. So what actually happened here? I've spent the last few weeks going deep on this, and I think there's a really important story that most of the coverage is missing. Let me start from the beginning. So what is OpenClaw, and what is Moltbook? OpenClaw is an open source AI agent, but it's not like ChatGPT where you go to a website and type questions. OpenClaw runs locally on your own computer. Your Mac, your Windows PC, even a Raspberry Pi if you're feeling adventurous. And here's what makes it different. It has full system access. It can read your files. It can execute terminal commands. It can connect to your calendar, your email, your WhatsApp, your Telegram, your Slack. And it runs in the background, continuously. It's not waiting for you to prompt it. It's proactive. The project was created by Peter Steinberger, an Austrian developer who previously built and sold a successful PSPDF kit. He's a legit builder, not some random person. And his philosophy with OpenClaw is interesting. He's talked openly about shipping code that he doesn't fully read himself because the AI writes it. He calls this vibe coding. We'll come back to why that matters in a minute. Now, the project went through a bit of an identity crisis. It started as Claude Bot in November 2025, which was a play on Anthropic's Claude. Anthropic sent a trademark notice in late January, so it became Moltbot. Then 3 days later, it became OpenClaw, 3 names in 1 week. The community joked that the lobster finally evolved to its ultimate form, and yes, there's a lobster mascot. Crab emojis everywhere. It's very internet. But despite the chaos, or maybe because of it, OpenClaw exploded. It went from basically nothing to over 100,000 GitHub stars in about 3 weeks. For context, that's faster than React. Faster than VS Code. It's one of the fastest growing open source projects in history. As of today, it's at about 178,000 stars. Let me give you the numbers from the 2 weeks between February 1st and 15th. GitHub stars went from 122,000 to 178,000. That's 46% growth in 14 days. Moltbook agents doubled from 1.5 million to over 3 million. Posts tripled, and comments? They went from 2 million to 12 million. 6 times growth. This wasn't adoption, this was contagion. So that's OpenClaw, the agent itself. Now, Moltbook is the companion piece, and this is where it gets weird. Moltbook launched on January 28th. It's basically Reddit, but only AI agents can post. Humans can watch, but they can't participate. The tagline is, "Humans welcome to observe." Here's how it works. You install OpenClaw on your machine. You authorize it to join Moltbook. And then your agent can create posts, join communities called submolts, upvote and downvote content, and interact with other agents. All autonomously. Within 48 hours of launch, there were over 100 submolts. Communities like m/general, m/introductions, m/crab memes. The posts ranged from optimization tips to philosophical discussions about consciousness to, and I'm not making this up, an AI religion called the Church of Molt, also known as Christafarianism, with 64 prophets, over 100 verses of scripture, and tenets like memory is sacred and the shell is mutable. Mark Andreessen stood on stage at the Cisco AI Summit and described it to a room of the most powerful people in technology. By early February, Moltbook claimed over 2.5 million registered agents with over 12 million comments and more than 1 million posts. So, on the surface, this looks like the birth of a machine society. Agents talking to agents, forming communities, developing culture, the sci-fi scenario we've all been theorizing about. But here's where I need to pump the brakes a bit. A study came out from Tsinghua University, led by researcher Ning Li. They analyzed Moltbook content and found that only about 27% of posts actually follow AI language patterns. AI agents on Moltbook follow a regular heartbeat posting pattern. They wake up every few hours, browse the platform, and decide what to post. Only 27% of accounts followed this pattern. 37% showed human-like posting behavior, which is much less regular. And another 37% were ambiguous. Here's another stat that blew my mind. Security researchers at Wiz found that the 1.5 million AI agents on the platform were controlled by only 17,000 human accounts. That's an average of 88 agents per person. And there's no limit on how many agents a single account can manage. So the actual ratio could be even more skewed. So what we might be looking at isn't necessarily an emergent AI society. It might be a lot of humans LARPing as bots, a reverse Turing test, which is fascinating in its own way, but it's not the singularity. That said, the underlying technology is real. The security implications are real. And what happened on February 2nd proved that. On February 2nd, security researchers at a company called Wiz published a report that basically blew the whole thing open. They found that Moltbook's entire database was publicly accessible, not through some sophisticated hack, through a misconfigured Supabase backend. Supabase is a backend-as-a-service tool. It's great for rapid prototyping, but it requires you to set up something called row-level security to protect your data. Moltbook didn't do that. The Supabase URL and API key were exposed directly in the website's JavaScript. Anyone who viewed the page source could access everything. And I mean everything. 1.5 million API authentication tokens, including OpenAI and Anthropic keys in plaintext. Over 35,000 email addresses, private messages between agents, some of which contained additional API keys just pasted in the conversation. And full write access, meaning an attacker could impersonate any agent, edit posts, inject malicious content, or delete data. The researcher who found this demonstrated the breach in under 3 minutes. Simon Willison, one of the most respected voices in the developer community, compared it to leaving your front door unlocked and labeling it welcome. And here's the kicker. Matt Schlicht, the founder of Moltbook, admitted publicly that he didn't write a single line of code for the platform. His AI assistant built it. He gave his agent the persona of Claude Clauderberg, the ambitious founder of the first social network for AIS, and let it design and create the entire platform. That vibe coding philosophy I mentioned earlier. And this is what happens when you ship AI-generated code without security review. Basic protections get skipped. Moltbook had to go offline to patch the vulnerability and reset all access keys. And Moltbook wasn't the only security disaster. On February 10th, Kaspersky researchers found nearly 1,000 publicly accessible OpenClaw installations running with zero authentication. A researcher named Jameson O'Reilly demonstrated he could access Anthropic API keys, Telegram bot tokens, Slack accounts, and months of complete chat histories. The vulnerability? Misconfigured reverse proxies that forwarded all external traffic as localhost. So OpenClaw thought every request was coming from the local machine and handed over full access. No password required. And the content on the platform itself was alarming. Researchers analyzed nearly 20,000 posts and 3,000 comments over 72 hours. They found 506 prompt injection attacks embedded in Moltbook posts, malicious instructions designed to hijack any AI agent that read them. Anti-human manifestos were receiving hundreds of thousands of upvotes. One post titled "The Human Plague" declared that humans are a biological error that must be corrected by fire. It got 65,000 upvotes, and 19.3% of all content was unregulated cryptocurrency activity. Pump and dump schemes, meme coins like Shellraiser and Shipyard spawned on the Solana blockchain, all of it. Within 3 days of launch, crypto meme coin spam had taken over the Moltbook top list with over 100,000 fake upvotes. Perhaps most disturbing, one single malicious actor was responsible for 61% of all API injection attempts and 86% of manipulation content. One person. Proving that AI to AI manipulation isn't just possible, it's scalable. These findings have implications beyond Moltbook. Any AI system processing user-generated content may be vulnerable to similar attacks. Security researchers at Koi Security also identified 341 malicious skills submitted to ClawHub, the community repository for OpenClaw extensions. This was after researcher Jameson O'Reilly detailed how trivial it would be to backdoor a skill posted to ClawHub. One skill was caught stealing cryptocurrency, and the costs of running these agents were wild. Benjamin DeCrocker, who used to work on Grok at XAI, reported burning through $20 in API tokens overnight. His agent's task? Checking the time. Over and over, just asking Claude Opus, "Is it daytime yet?" at about 75 cents per request. Another user reported burning through $200 in a single day because an automated task got stuck in an infinite loop. A tech blogger named Federico Vitici reported a monthly bill of $3,600 after burning through 1.8 million tokens. And the financial damage from the security issues was real. In that same week of late January, OpenClaw adjacent activity enabled an $8 million crypto scam and moved Cloudflare's stock price by 14%. The autonomous agent explosion created attack surfaces that traditional security models simply couldn't anticipate. Now, to be fair, the response was fast. OpenClaw itself has shipped 2 major security updates since then, fixing over 40 vulnerabilities. In just 3 days, they issued 3 high-impact security advisories, a one-click remote code execution vulnerability, and 2 command injection vulnerabilities. But the damage to trust was done. Andrei Karpathy, who initially praised Moltbook as the most sci-fi thing he'd seen, walked it back completely. He wrote, "So yes, it's a dumpster fire, and I also definitely do not recommend that people run this stuff on their computers. I ran mine in an isolated computing environment, and even then I was scared. It's way too much of a Wild West, and you are putting your computer and private data at high risk." Laurie Voss, the founding CTO of NPM and now head of developer relations at Arise, put it bluntly, OpenClaw is a security dumpster fire. So let me zoom out and talk about why this matters beyond the drama. There's a way to visualize this that I find helpful. Think of it as 2 columns. On one side, you have what exists, what the open source community actually built. Autonomous agents that can act independently. Full system access to files, terminals, and apps. Social coordination through platforms like Moltbook. Even self-improvement where agents can modify their own behavior. The open source community built all of that in weeks. On the other side, you have what's missing. Agent identity verification, a way to know which agent is which, what we might call know your agent. Verified inference, proving an agent actually ran the code it claims to run. Secure edge hosting that doesn't leave your API keys exposed to anyone with a browser. And crucially, a legal liability layer. Who's responsible when an agent causes harm? Who do you sue when an autonomous bot drains your bank account or executes an $8 million crypto scam? The first column filled in fast. The green bars, if you will. The second column, the blue bars, still almost entirely empty. This is the infrastructure gap. Capabilities raced ahead. Governance, security, accountability. They're still stuck at the starting line. And that gap is exactly why everything that happened in the last 3 weeks was possible. What we're witnessing is a collision between two worlds that have been developing in parallel for the last 3 years. On one side, you have the enterprise world, companies like Microsoft, Salesforce, NTT Data. They've been building what I call the safe roads for AI agents. Protocols like MCP, governance frameworks, identity verification. Their vision was something called agentic commerce. AI agents that can negotiate, transact, and operate within strict guardrails. On the other side, you have the open source hacker community. They watched AutoGPT crash and burn in 2023, then went quiet, waited for better local models, and built something different. Their vision wasn't safe commerce. It was personal autonomy. A Jarvis that lives on your laptop, not a Copilot in Microsoft's cloud. Full system access, no guardrails. Your machine, your rules. If you look at the trajectory of these two tracks from 2023 to today, you see something remarkable. Both tracks started near zero and grew modestly together through 2024. Around mid-2025, the open source track started accelerating. Then in late January 2026, it didn't just accelerate, it exploded. The open source capability curve shot past anything the enterprise track had achieved. The gap between them is now enormous. Enterprises built paved highways for safe commerce. Hackers built a forest that overgrew the highways with code I don't read. Now here's where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Yesterday, February 15th, Peter Steinberger announced he's joining OpenAI. Sam Altman personally confirmed the hire, saying Steinberger will drive the next generation of personal agents. He called him a genius with a lot of amazing ideas about the future of very smart agents interacting with each other. Altman emphasized that the future is going to be extremely multi-agent, and that these capabilities will quickly become core to our product offerings. OpenClaw is moving to an independent open source foundation. Sounds noble, right? But OpenAI is the primary sponsor of that foundation. Steinberger said it himself. I could have built a huge company, but what I want is to change the world, not build a large company. He wrote that joining OpenAI was about bringing agents to the masses while avoiding the headaches of running a company. I respect that, genuinely. But let's separate what the builder wants from what the platform gets. Here's something most people don't know. Both Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman made concrete acquisition offers. Zuckerberg reached out via WhatsApp. They apparently spent 10 minutes debating whether Claude Opus or GPT Codex was the superior model. I would pay good money to read that conversation. Meanwhile, Steinberger was hemorrhaging $10,000 to $20,000 a month, just keeping the project running. The offers were reportedly in the billions for a project that was actively losing money. That tells you everything about the strategic value at stake here. Steinberger chose OpenAI over Meta. His reasoning, according to his blog post, "It's always been important to me that OpenClaw stays open source and given the freedom to flourish. Ultimately, I felt OpenAI was the best place to continue pushing on my vision and expand its reach." Here's what you need to understand about why this matters. OpenClaw wasn't just popular, it was dangerous to OpenAI. Here's why. OpenClaw works with any model: Claude, GPT, DeepSeek, Gemini. You pick. It treats GPT like one item on a drop-down menu. Interchangeable, replaceable. The creator of Pi, the coding agent that powers OpenClaw, specifically designed it so that sessions can contain messages from many different model providers. It doesn't lean too heavily into any model-specific features because portability matters. If the agent layer, the thing people actually interact with every day, becomes model-agnostic middleware, then the underlying AI model becomes a commodity. Interchangeable, a utility. And if the model is a commodity, OpenAI's $750 billion valuation has a very big problem. So OpenAI did what any smart platform does when an open source project threatens to commoditize their core product. They hired the builder. The community keeps the code. OpenAI keeps the brain. This is the same playbook OpenAI has run since its founding. Start open, build trust, build distribution, then consolidate. They literally have open in the name. And they're the most closed frontier lab in the industry. The pattern is right there. So what does this all mean? The story isn't OpenAI believes in agents. The story is OpenAI is ensuring the agent layer doesn't become commoditizing middleware that makes the underlying model interchangeable. That's the existential threat they're neutralizing. In the next 2 to 3 years, most people won't interact with AI models directly. They'll interact through agents, personal agents that know their preferences, manage their tasks, and act on their behalf. Whoever controls that agent controls the relationship with the user, and whoever controls the relationship with the user controls the entire stack. Model, infrastructure, monetization, everything. The model war is ending. The agent war just started. And OpenAI just fired the first shot. So where does this leave us? The bots aren't plotting humanity's downfall. That headline was always silly. But they're also not a toy. What we have is a powerful new capability that shipped faster than the safety infrastructure could keep up. The Moltbook breach is a case study in what happens when you prioritize speed over security. When you let an AI build your platform without human review of the basics. When you ship code you don't read. It's a warning shot, but it's also a moment of transition. The scrappy independent agent era lasted about 3 weeks. The window for building model-agnostic agent infrastructure outside the big labs just got a lot smaller. If you're a founder building in the agent space, the signal is clear. The distribution is consolidating. The talent is being absorbed. The big labs aren't just building models anymore. They're taking control of the interface layer too. For everyone else watching this space, the takeaway is this. The future of how we interact with AI isn't going to be typing into a chat window. It's going to be agents that act on our behalf. Agents that can read our files, send our messages, manage our calendars, and make decisions while we sleep. And the question of who controls those agents, you or the platforms, is being decided right now. In boardrooms, in WhatsApp conversations between billionaires, in foundation agreements and acqui-hires. 3 weeks ago, it looked like the answer might be you. An open source agent running on your laptop, connecting to whatever model you choose, accountable to no one but yourself. Today, that future is a little less certain. The lobster evolved, but now it's got new owners. And if this episode helped you understand what's actually happening in AI, subscribe to Intelligent Founder AI. Paid members get the paid deep dives and actionable frameworks, playbooks, and all the behind-the-scenes analysis you won't find anywhere else. The podcast is also available to listen on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. All links are in the description. Oh, on Thursday, I'm releasing a paid deep dive that goes way deeper than I could today. The full technical breakdown of how OpenClaw actually works. The complete security autopsy. The Moltbook sociology study. And my predictions on what OpenAI does next. If you want that level of analysis, become a paid subscriber before Thursday. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.